I am Nikarasu with the Paparasu, and this is my video on My Adventures with Superman Season 2. My Adventures with Superman Season 2 is even better than the first season, and I think Season 1 is really good. The show itself is really good. I really enjoy DC animated projects, and I have not been invested in a DC animated show in such a long time. I'll watch the new seasons of Harley Quinn and Young Justice, but My Adventures with Superman just hits different. It has to be the best DC animated show we've gotten in a long time. I like Superman, but I've never been that invested with the character, really. I've always been more of a Batman guy. But what makes My Adventures with Superman so great are the plot, character arcs, and the new take on Superman. And it isn't just Superman, other characters have a new take too. They wanted to give us a good Superman show, and boy did they deliver. In this video, I'll go over the characters of Season 2, because I feel like they were the best parts of the season. And the first character that I want to talk about is one of the antagonists. One that has quite the history with Superman. Of course, the character I'm talking about is none other than...
Lex Luthor.
We were first introduced to Superman's old foe Lex Luthor in the first season, who only played a small role. Here, Lex Luthor isn't the baldy that we know him as. He's got hair, wears glasses, and is kinda scrawny looking. At first, he was just only Ivo's assistant, until Ivo ended up turning himself into a parasite. As a result, Luthor lost his job. He also nearly lost his career, which he blamed Superman for. We first see Lex hoping to get hired by Star Labs, but because of his involvement with Ivo and the parasite suit, he's not hired. And you can say he doesn't take it really well. But little did we, and Lex himself, know that Superman's best buddy Jimmy helped out Lex despite the differences about Superman. Jimmy tells Lex to not wait for people to give him a chance, but for him to carve his own path so that others will come to him to make his dreams become a reality. And Lex indeed took Jimmy's advice. After both Superman and Lois broke Lois' dad out of prison, Stryker Island was a mess. They couldn't contain Parasite, who went on a rampage. The only one who was capable of containing Parasite was none other than Lex Luthor, since he was the one who made the Parasite suit. Lex didn't just make the Parasite suit, he also made the tech that Amanda Waller and the rest of Task Force X used. And because of that, he was able to track it all down to Stryker's Island. Lex tells Waller that he wants to help her protect the Earth from all threats, including Superman, since they both view Superman as a major threat. Waller was more than impressed, and because of that, she decided to work with Lex by making him their tech guy. Lex did more than just create weapons to take down Superman. He also wanted to ruin Superman's reputation and get people against him. Not just regular civilians in the mass media, but also the government. Him and Jimmy debate whether Superman is a hero or a threat. Jimmy obviously defends Superman and says that Superman chooses to use his powers for good. Lex counters that by saying that Superman could choose to do harm. He brings up that Superman has already done harm to humans. Jimmy tries to defend Superman by saying that he only did that because they were bad. But Lex doesn't think he should decide what counts as a bad guy. Lex brings up a scenario where they're at war and Superman decides that the other side is right. Or if they were to one day create a utopia and he decided that they shouldn't have it. As Lex goes on, people start to understand what he's saying and agree with him. Because from their perspective, these are all things that could very well happen, and things that they would want to prevent.
Knowledge is power, and power is security. But what security do we have against a Superman? Ever since that alien showed up, Metropolis has been a parade of freaks and destruction. Our city used to be safe. It used to be normal. I say it's time Superman went back to where he came from.
Things quickly get even worse for Superman. During the battle between Task Force X, all defense technology in the area were destroyed. Before Lex and civilians showed up, Task Force X was already gone. They only see Superman, and from their perspective, they think that Superman is the one that destroyed everything. Lex doubles down on what he was saying before. He tells them all that Superman is the greatest threat to humanity. Later on, we see that Lex got people in the government and other places on his side. With their approval, cooperation, and resources, Lex and Task Force X were ready to create whatever they could to take down Superman. He and Waller end up acquiring Amortech, which gave them full access to the Metallos. Lex upgraded all the Metallos and even gave them kryptonite-based weapons, which turned out to be really useful. However, Brainiac was able to turn the Metallos against them. By the end of the season, most of Task Force X have been arrested. Lex and Deathstroke weren't and are getting ready for Season 3. I normally don't really care for Lex Luthor that much, unless he's being voiced by Clancy Brown. But I really like this version of Lex Luthor. One of the things that made me really like this version of Lex Luthor is when he went out of his way to be an asshole on purpose. Like when he thanks Jimmy in front of Superman.
Hey, by the way, thanks for the advice, Jimmy. I would not be here today without you. You're a real pal, you know that?
You don't belong here.
Jimmy?
Now we move on to Superman and his friends. After the whole thing with Task Force X and Luthor turning people against Superman, he goes to check on Lois and her dad. But Lois's dad says that Clark is different, which Lois agrees with, which causes Superman to leave. But after he had left, Lois admits that she likes Clark because he's different. After Lex thanking Jimmy for getting him where he is, and hearing Lois admit that he's different, along with the people that turned on Superman because of Lex, Superman starts to feel that he's alone, that nobody can understand him. He decides to finally send a message to his cousin Kara because he's tired of feeling alone. He thinks that Kara might feel the same way, and maybe they can help each other not feel alone anymore. Since they're not only both Kryptonians, but they're also family. And Kara is the only biological relative that Superman has. So Superman believes that if anyone can help him, it's Kara. This was only the beginning of his internal conflict. The next day, Jimmy tries to send a message to Clark to apologize, because he feels like he's at fault. However, he struggles to do so because he doesn't know what to say or what to do. He doesn't know how to make things right. While he was thinking about this, he saw a girl that he believed was in trouble and decided to help her. And the girl that Jimmy helped out is none other than Android 18. I mean Kara. As they're introducing themselves, Jimmy mentions that he's a leader at the planet, meaning the Daily Planet, but since Kara isn't from Earth, she doesn't know that. So she believes that Jimmy is the leader of the planet. As they talk, Jimmy spots Clark nearby. Without knowing how to apologize or how Clark will react, he runs off with Kara. Clark with the X-ray vision sees Jimmy, and him not taking Clark's call. Jimmy does this because he's not ready to talk to Clark yet. However, Clark thinks that Jimmy's avoiding him for a completely different reason. After what had happened when they last saw each other, Superman starts to believe that even Jimmy's starting to turn on him. Which is why he thinks Jimmy is avoiding him. Which is why he refused to take his call. For the purpose of avoiding Clark, Jimmy shows Kara around the town. Which pretty much turns out to be a date. And Jimmy even ends up developing a crush on Kara. He asks her about the person that she's looking for. And we see that Kara feels the same way as Clark does.
The only person in the universe who will understand me.
Oh, a guy.
My cousin.
Oh, cousin. Great.
So Jimmy offers to help Kara find her cousin, and at this point, Jimmy has no idea that her cousin is actually Clark. Because Jimmy still thinks that Kara is just a regular Earth girl. And so, Jimmy and Kara both continue on with their date. A little further into the episode, Jimmy and Kara end up talking on the roof of the Daily Planet. As they talk and learn more about each other, they realize that they have more in common than they thought, and Kara ends up developing a crush on Jimmy. It's at that moment Jimmy realizes what he's been doing wrong.
I'm sorry.
For assisting me.
For using you to avoid my best friend. But nothing's solved by silence. I have to talk to Clark.
And so Jimmy ends up taking Kara with him so he can go face Clark and apologize to him, now that he's ready to. Kara ends up spotting Superman, and Jimmy is surprised that Superman is the cousin that Kara was looking for. I'll get into Superman and Kara, but before I do, I want to talk about Superman and Lois first. Earlier in the season, Vicky Field offered Lois an opportunity to work with her at the Gotham Gazette, which is something that Lois has always wished for, but realizes that if she accepts Vicky's offer, then she would have to leave Metropolis and everyone else behind. Vicky tries to convince Lois that in order for her to move up, she has to move on. Afterwards, Lois meets with Superman and gives him the idea of what to write in his article. Throughout the season, they aren't able to make time for each other and talk about things. Things that they would need and want to discuss with each other. The next challenge that Lois faces is when she follows her dad, who's being chased by Task Force X. We see flashbacks of Lois' childhood with her father. Due to her dad's job, they're always moving, causing Lois to leave her friends. The only people she had left in her life were her parents, or at least her father, who keeps her in the dark about these things and is afraid that he'll leave too. During the encounter in Task Force X, Lois ends up getting hurt, and the two would have died for sure if Superman hadn't showed up and saved them. After they escape and the two hug, Sam sees the scratches on Lois's arms and thinks about how it could have been worse. In order to keep her out of danger, he ends up leaving her again, but he doesn't realize how this affects Lois mentally. In the next episode, while Jimmy is with Kara, Superman is invited to a bachelor event where Lois tells Clark to try to act single, so that no one, including Kat, can figure out that Clark is Superman. And so Superman does exactly that. Out of all the other contestants, Saint Sarah Cloud is the one that takes an interest in Superman. Or it could be just pretending to make Bruce Wayne jealous. Either way, Lois is uncomfortable with it and doesn't like it. And to make things worse, Kat once again tries to figure out who Superman is with. Kat is convinced that Superman is dating Silver St. Cloud. Lois's emotions start to get the better of her and she asks why couldn't Superman be with someone like her, which makes Kat laugh and doesn't exactly help Lois. However, Kat does get serious and tells Lois that there is some truth to.
He's Superman, and these people are superhuman. We're reporters, outside observers looking in on worlds that we aren't a part of. We write the story. We don't become the story.
Kat's words only add to Lois's insecurities here, because Lois knows that she's not like them. And just when the event is about over, Silver St. Cloud kisses Superman on the cheek. Lois had reached her breaking point and runs off crying.
Lois, are you hurt? What's wrong?
Everything is wrong. The contest, my dad running off, the job offer, it's all too much.
Job offer? What job offer?
Vicky asked me to move to Gotham and become her number 2.
What? What? Why didn't you tell me?
Because we never talk anymore.
I've been trying. I wanted you to be there when I set off the beacon.
You what?
This isn't coming out right.
Because this isn't working. We don't make sense, Clark. There's a whole room of people way better for you than I could ever be. I mean, I'm not a genius or billionaire or a super person. I'm just me. And it's not enough. Everyone always leaves me in the end. So why are we even doing this?
Lois, are you breaking up with me?
Before either of them can say anything, Kara interrupts them and confronts Superman, and finds him to be a disappointment. She believes that being on Earth has made him weak, and so Kara proceeds to fight Superman. He doesn't want to fight her, so he tries to plead with her, which doesn't really go very well. And so Kara ends up kidnapping her own cousin without a second thought, which Superman doesn't take very well, but he still doesn't want to fight Kara. He tries to head back to Earth, but stops when he hears that there could be other Kryptonians alive. Wanting to know about Krypton and the Kryptonians, Kara shows Kal a projection of Krypton, which Kara is hoping that they can rebuild together, or at least come close to recreating their society. Kal, using the same device as Kara, shows a projection of his childhood to Kara. He wanted to show Kara how he grew up on Earth, and everything he was taught by his parents. Kara was under the impression that his parents were trying to conceal his powers, and that he should be ashamed of them. She asked Kal if anyone actually cared about the real him. And after he hears his questions, we get to see Superman's insecurities, which is why this projection of Lois is seen. He's starting to believe that she's right. Immediately after that, Kal finds the photos of Kara and Jimmy together. When he asks her about it, she's quick to get embarrassed and tries to take the photo back from Kal. He asks Kara if she likes Jimmy. She tries to claim that she doesn't, but we can see from the look on her face that she does. And I like how Kal teases her here. Soon afterwards, they go into the depths of space to clear an asteroid field. They end up playing with each other, and they have a fun time, because for the first time in their lives, they don't have to hold back. They don't have to worry about hurting each other. After all, they're both Kryptonians. This was a new experience for both of them. They went from fighting each other to playing with each other. Sounds like family, alright. Afterwards, the two arrive on Thanagard, the home planet of Hawkman and Hawkgirl, a planet conquered under the new Kryptonian Empire. That's in complete ruins, which surprises Superman and Kara, who didn't expect Thanagard to look the way it did. She claims the planet wasn't in ruins when she was last there, but she struggles to remember what exactly happened when she was last there. All she knew was that something was wrong. Which leads us to the next character I'll be talking about.
Kal, kneel before father.
Why are we kneeling before Zor-El?
Zor-El? Who is Zor-El?
Zor-El? My uncle? Your father?
My father is the light of the Empire. The might of Krypton. Primus Brainiac.
And let me tell you, this Brainiac is an improvement over the Brainiac we got in Shit Squad. This Brainiac had been leading the new Kryptonian Empire since the destruction of Krypton. He explains that while Krypton was still around, he was the artificial intelligence for all the technology on the planet. And when he learned that Kal-El was alive and on Earth, he wanted Kal-El to join the new Kryptonian Empire. Brainiac tells Kal that he knew his parents very well. Brainiac offers Kal to see what his empire is like and how it's different from the previous one. He agrees to see it, wanting to know more about his family, his people, and the Empire. Brainiac uses Kryptonian technology to create a simulation to test out Superman's physical capabilities.
These scans are all that's left of those who did not comply with the original Kryptonian Empire. Their hatred and anguish, it's perfect for training our warriors.
This is too cruel.
Cruel is a word created by the we.
As Superman continues to fight, he questions Brainiac, believing that he wanted to truly help people across the universe.
Kara said you wanted to bring back the best of Krypton. The technology, the scientific advancements.
How do you think we made those advancements? War was the engine which fueled the Empire. This was my Krypton.
It was you. You destroyed Thanagar.
You really don't understand anything.
After witnessing Superman's display of power, Brainiac uses red sun radiation lighting to weaken Superman, because he'll become completely powerless under a red sun. But even as he's powerless, he refuses to give in to Brainiac, and swears that he'll stop him as well as take Kara away from him. Kara shortly arrives after Superman loses consciousness, and wants to know what had happened. Brainiac goes on to tell Kara that he's displeased with her decisions that she's been making, such as going to Earth without him, and stopping on Thanagar rather than immediately returning to the ship with Kal. He calls her a disappointment, and then we see that Brainiac is capable of mind-controlling Kara. Not only did he brainwash her at that moment, but he had been brainwashing her this entire time, and forced her to destroy all these cities on all the planets they've conquered. Kara was absolutely horrified when she discovered the truth. With her cousin being held captive by Brainiac, she didn't know what to do. Just as it seemed like she had no options, a portal opens up with a ship coming out of it. And in the ship are Lois, Jimmy, Mala, and Brain. But before that, with the help of Livewire and Heatwave, Lois and the others not only managed to escape, but also helped Lois realize that when it comes to love, she can't let fear get in the way of that. As Kara enters their ship, despite what had happened, Jimmy and Kara are both glad to see each other again. While Lois is still pissed off at Kara for kidnapping Clark in the first place. Despite the differences, Jimmy is the one that convinces Lois to give Kara a chance. Especially since working with Kara is the best chance at saving Clark. Meanwhile, Brainiac was inside of Superman's mind. Brainiac showed Superman alternate memories playing into his insecurities. Despite knowing that and still trying to resist Brainiac, he can't help but let his insecurities get the better of him. Brainiac knows that Superman is physically strong, but knew that he was mentally weak here. Brainiac ends up trapping Superman in his own mind. He created a fake simulation where Kal grew up on Krypton, which allowed Brainiac to take full control of Superman's body. Clark Kent, Kal-El, Superman was no more. There was only Brainiac. Kara battles Brainiac to try and free her cousin, however he completely overpowers her. Brainiac even uses Superman's body to invade the Earth. Even enemies who Superman had struggled against were no match for Brainiac. He was able to take them all down with little effort. There was no one that could stop him. However, Lois had managed to steal one of Brainiac's equipment to enter Clark's mind. Because of Brainiac's doing, Superman struggles to realize which of his memories are real. He still thinks that Lois doesn't care about him. Lois gets mad and tells Clark everything she had to do in order to get to him and save him. At that moment, Clark realized that Lois was real. Lois apologizes to Clark for letting her fear get to her, and that she does really love him. Lois tells him that she didn't name him Superman because of what he can do, he named him that because of who he is. Superman believed her and realized that Lois and everyone else that he cared for really did care about him, for the same reason Lois cares about him. While back on Earth, Kara once again tried to face Brainiac to protect the Earth from him. She no longer saw Brainiac as her father, she saw Brainiac as a threat to all worlds and that he needed to be stopped. Especially since she knew that all this time he was controlling her to harm people on other planets. As the battle for Earth continued on, Brainiac's hold on Superman came to an end. Knowing exactly what had happened, Brainiac attempted to fire a beam to destroy the planet. But Kara uses herself as a shield to defend the Earth, and the beam was powerful enough to hurt her. Brainiac was gonna fire off the beam again and try to kill Kara, but luckily for her, the prodigal son returns. Even with the only two Kryptonians left in existence fighting Brainiac, they struggle against him. There were moments where Brainiac nearly defeated the two, and they definitely would have lost if they didn't have help from others. As they power up from the sun and charge at Brainiac, Kara's outfit begins to change, as her cousin did in the episode before. As the two charge at Brainiac, he decides to fire up his kryptonite beam again in an attempt to kill the two. I find it odd that Brainiac would wait to use the kryptonite that he has when Superman and Kara are right by the sun. I get that he didn't want to kill them at first, but he still could have used it to incapacitate them or something. The last thing Brainiac should want is for them to get powered up by a yellow sun. The more powerful they are, the better chance they have at beating Brainiac. And Brainiac should know that Kryptonians get powered up by a yellow sun since he's had Kara for so long. But anyways, Brainiac makes one final attempt to kill the Kryptonians, or at least Kara. Kara alone charges at Brainiac and destroys him. The moment she destroys Brainiac to help save the world, she went from nothing more to being a puppet for Brainiac's Kryptonian Empire to become the hero known as Supergirl. I know I said I was going to talk about the characters in this season, but I felt like I need to discuss some of the stuff that happens in a plot in order to properly discuss these characters, especially Kara. A few days after saving the world, Kara wakes up and comes to find out that she's in the home that Clark grew up in. Clark's foster parents, Jonathan and Martha Kent, welcome Kara into the family with open arms. Kara is happy to finally be part of a real family. After some time of Kara settling in, Clark meets with Lois on the roof of the Daily Planet to discuss her decision about leaving Metropolis for Gotham. Clark shows that he'll support Lois if she leaves for Gotham, as he brings apartments in Gotham that have vacancy rooftops, and says that it'll only take 5 minutes to get to her. Lois is flattered that Superman will go back and forth just to see her.
Lois Lane, no matter where you go, all you ever have to do is say my name, and I'll be there.
I turned Vicky down. I don't want to be the second Vicky Vale. I want to be the first Lois Lane. And I'm gonna make that happen right here at the Daily Planet. With the man I love.
By the end of the season, everything in Clark's life is just right, as he's surrounded by people he cares for and knowing that they care about him a lot. There's no longer any doubt in his mind about that. Whatever challenges they come across next, they'll all face it together. And that about wraps up this video. Sorry about the delay, I've been meaning to get this out for a while now. I've actually been working on this video since a week after Season 2 ended, because that's when I finished watching it. I've been busy with my day job, and when I get home and have time to work on videos, I try working on multiple videos at a time, so that I can try and upload videos consistently. And speaking of which, I've already got a video lined up for next week, and a week after that, hopefully another video will be ready, which is something that I'm really looking forward to showing. Other than those things, I also easily get distracted doing other things. Like while I'm making videos, I'll sometimes see that a YouTuber I'm subscribed to has uploaded something and I go and stop what I'm doing to watch it, This doesn't just apply to people I'm subscribed to. Like, if something that I'm interested in pops up on my feed, I'll go and watch it. I'll also stop what I'm doing just to play a game. And lately, the games I've been playing are Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links and Duel Masters. But enough about that. As for my conclusion, I still think My Adventure with Superman is really great. And this is coming from someone who's not that invested with Superman. I really enjoyed the characters in this season, and the villains. But between Brainiac and Luthor, I think I liked Lex more. I like how during his debate with Jimmy, he was trying to turn people against Superman and that it was working. And that he'll sometimes go out of his way to be an asshole. Of course, I also really liked Superman's writing, along with Lois's and Kara's. I'm really looking forward to Season 3. Depending on how well this video does, I'll make a video on it after Season 3 ends. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like. And for those of you who are new to my channel, feel free to check out my other videos, shorts, community, and subscribe if you haven't already. One thing I forgot to mention is that I really love Superman's new suit in this season. It looks really good and it has to be one of my favorite Superman suits of all time.